Welcome to the E Show, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Founded in 2013, the EHL is your next step on the path to college. Over the past decade, the EHL has established itself as the college placement leader on the East Coast. And now, here's your host, the commissioner of the Eastern Hockey League, Neil Ravin.
Thanks, Jim. And with that, let's bring in this week's E-Crew, Jeff, as usual. But now we're joined by Tyler, taking Anthony's spot this week. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Neil.
Tyler Arago back on the E-Show, my partner in crime.
First episode of the 2023-24 season. So
welcome back, buddy. We missed you.
It's kind of fitting because what is this week's episode all about, Jeff?
Yeah, no, this really did work out creepily. I was thinking that this morning. It's about way too early Frozen Finals predictions.
And
shoot me now.
Love.
Where's
and
the
we
gun?
have we have the duo that always calls the EHL games of our Frozen Finals on this podcast. So, but it fits. It makes sense. It's
symmetrical.
It's only November, but I love talking about Providence. So let's do so right now in Around the E-Show.
Let's take a look at what's going on around the E-Show.
Around the E-Show is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code EHLB1, that's EHLB1, for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
So we have 9 different picks that were submitted.
Pretty good array.
And I'm going to actually give Anthony credit. He sent me an email last night at 11:05. He also works at Bloomberg, for those that don't know, in Manhattan. If you ever want to hear the route that he takes to get to Bloomberg for those shifts,
ever read the book Planes, Trains, Automobiles?
It's quite entertaining. But he also, in his email, gave me some reasoning behind each pick.
Did you leave at midnight to start a 6 a.m. shift?
Who knows? Do we want to go division by division or person by person, you think?
It might be easier to do person by person, I think.
Okay. All right. So you know what? We'll lead off with Anthony then. Okay.
Go.
Because I have the script right in front of me. And in the North Division, he's picking the New England Wolves to win the division in March. Okay. And I'll just read, Anthony. The Wolves have had an up and down season so far, but their offense is second to only the Boston Junior Rangers. AJ Lackas, Matthias Johansson, and Joaquin Cameron can score at will, and there's no steep drop-off when you go down the stat sheet. Cam Reardon has been a workhorse in goal as he leads the EHL in minutes played and saves made. If the defense can lighten up his workload a little bit, this team can very well go to the distance and nearly like it did in the 2022 Frozen Finals. So there's Anthony's North Division for the New England Wolves. He then picks the Boston Junior Rangers to win the East Division. In quotes, I really wanted to go with an upset here since the Wizards and Express have been terrific this season, but the Rangers simply look unstoppable.
Yeah,
Five different skaters already have 24 points or more, while the team has a goal differential of plus 53. Anthony does love goal differential. That's cool great defense and goaltending. So he's going Wolves, then Rangers. Central Division, any predictions about who we picked?
Actually, it's not who you think, folks. It's someone that's close to him geographically.
Yes, he is going with the Apple Core.
When I picked
the Apple, this is in quotes again. When I picked the Apple Core to upset the Railers 2 years ago, it was much more of a long shot. This year,
yeah, that was a stir the pot pick.
New York looks much more well-rounded. With Nick Sweet and Anthony Vernillo driving the bus offensively, while Jack Messing and Peter Dunkel have proven to be a solid tandem in goal. They've had some tough matchups already with games against the Bears, Railers, Terriers. They've all been tight contests. The fact that they're already competing so well with some of the best teams in the league makes me believe this could be the year someone dethrones the Railers in the Central. He then shocks the world and goes to the South and picks the Bears, not the 87s.
Whoa. Anthony.
Yes.
Is that check going to be a little pink this week when he picks it up from Matthew Kiernan in the Anaboli?
Listen to this line, Jeff. Like the Bears, like the Rangers, the Bears are beating everybody right now.
That's
wow.
18-2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carson Fry is looking like the best goalie in the league, and 10 different players are in double digits in points. While the South can be anyone's division at any given time, the Bears have done more than enough to earn their title as early season favorite. So there's his 4 EHL picks. I'm going to actually pivot here, Jeff, and we're going to read off
everyone
picks. Else who's not on, and then go through ours, right? Okay. So everyone else who's not on includes Justin, Jake, Trevor, Mike, and Haley. Okay?
Yep.
And I guess the easy way to start with Justin, Jake, Trevor, Mike, and Haley is the fact that Justin picked the Apple Core, and then I challenged the Railers staff to not do this, but they all picked the Railers, and you know what? I'm going to pick the Railers too, and you guys both did as well.
Yeah.
Starting in the Central, like if it's not the Apple Core, I just can't get behind anybody else right now.
Absolutely not. It's one of those two teams.
And like the
sorry,
way that,
Rhode Island Rough Riders Chiefs. It just is. It just is.
And I hope that whoever the Railers face, I'm now getting ahead of myself, right? Whoever the Railers probably face in the Central Division Finals, I hope it goes 3 games, like it did last year with the Chiefs. Remember that the Railers won game 1, Chiefs won game 2, 1-0, and then I think Railers won game 3, 2-1. So the line that Greg Heffernan loves to say is like, if you told me that we would give up 2 goals combined between games 2 and 3 and still not go, it's a pinch me, right? But like, you look at what's taken place so far, and yes, 2 of the 9 picks are for the Apple Core, the other 7 are for the Railers.
You know what's really unfortunate though? I really wish this 2-game set that starts today with the Apple Core and Railers started like last week, was like right before the end of Thanksgiving break. Because like I know we'll get into our picks, but just a little teaser. Like the reason I didn't pick the Apple Core, I mean, they have only played twice, but the Railers have beaten them both times.
Yep.
So I mean, if the Apple Core sweep this time, then it's like, oh, okay, now you're tied for first because that's 6. Or no, sorry, they'd have 29 points. They'd pick up 4 points.
Yes,
they'd be 1 regulation win away from tying them, but then now you got a little bit more faith in that idea of the Apple Core to throw in the Railers because you've actually beaten them, but you got to beat them to overpass them. So huge 2 games.
It is a unique situation that they're literally playing today and tomorrow, the day that we record this podcast.
Both at the Wick.
But like Tyler, they can't go into it, the Apple Core, thinking about a sweep. They have to just think about today, then tomorrow, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And I think that when it's come to the Central, at least in my brief time here, that it's been the Railers division and it's been their division to lose. And it's one of those things where you'll believe it when you see it until otherwise. And so as long as they continue to roll and continue to play the way that Coach Bertoni expects and lays out for them, I mean, even for a team like the Apple Core, who's having a really good season, I just see it being way too difficult to overcome. But again, it's only November. And so a lot can change between now and March. But I just still think it's the Railers division to lose. But give a lot of credit to Coach Caglione and the Apple Core because they're starting to nip at their heels. And that was a team in the Railers that had won 14 straight games, I believe.
Yeah.
So the point differential is not that far off between first and second in the Central.
Yeah.
And this Railers team's I think this is the best Railers team we've ever seen in their history.
It feels, Jeff, like this has been a team that's just been knocking on the door the last 2 years. Right? And not to bring up any old memories for Jake or Trevor, but they've been right in the thick of it up until the end. And I think Coach Bertoni feels it too. I think that whole group feels it, that this is something they've been gradually building up to. And you've gotten close to the finish line now a few times, but the question is, can you cross it? And like I said, I firmly believe that they can cross it and that really it's going to come down to them just not tripping over themselves at the end.
Right. They've just been they've never been this dominant. Yeah. I can't remember a Railers team that's by the halfway mark only lost 2 games, I think, in regulation right now.
For sure.
2?
For sure.
That's unbelievable.
It's you have to think, we can talk about this more when we get to March. Like, even getting to the championship game may feel like a little bit of weight off their shoulders, right? Because you get to the one game championship, like anything can happen in one game, right? But this past year they were in game 3 against the Rangers, right? And then the year before we had a little bit of a different format because we had 6 teams there and they were 1 game away again. So like to be 1 game away each time, like it's kind of like if we just get through that, all bets are off, and whatever happens in the title game happens in the title game, right?
And that's what we've talked about like all year, right? Neil, is that the Bertonis, the Dessas, everyone there, like they don't care about how many times they've been to the Frozen Finals. They keep track of how many times have we won the damn thing. Oh, 0? Okay, so that keeps them up at night. That keeps them getting up in the morning, and it keeps driving all their conversations and goals for this season, and they're showing it through their first half.
Yeah. So let's stick in that region and go to the East, right?
This one's friggin'
I don't know
really
if you guys
tough.
saw. This is how I set up my my spreadsheet to collect all your picks in the back end, right? So it's just it's each of us in the column with the divisions on the left side, right? So reading off this East division, right, in order, when I have these not like it's symmetrical, Jeff, right? Wizards, Rangers, Express, Rangers, Express, Rangers, Wizards, Rangers, Express. It's just the 3 teams, right? I know I listen, too much information. I do have my Terriers underwear on, but I just couldn't pull the trigger with that. Like I want to get behind it, and I do think they're going to give somebody a really hard time this postseason. But those 3 teams have been the best 3 teams in their division, and maybe even 3 of the best 6 teams in the league. And I think what's going to be interesting is like the last 2 years, the Wizards have faced the Express in the playoffs, right? The last 2 years, the Rangers have faced the Seahawks in the playoffs too, right? So like maybe this is just me hoping personally that somebody new, like there's some new matchup in there. So it doesn't seem like the same thing as the last 2 years or so. But
Terriers being a new team will help us,
yes.
guarantee that happens somehow, right?
So reminder, Anthony picked the Rangers, Justin, the Express, Jake, Rangers, Trevor, Wizards, Mike, Rangers, Haley, Express. And then I'm going Wizards, Jeff's going Rangers, and Tyler's going Express. So again, it fits that we're on this podcast together and we're going in 3 different directions. I'll start with the Wizards. Corey has been able to bring little extra pieces in here and there as the season has gone on, which is not very Wizard-like in the past. And I think that he's recognizing what they have this season. And maybe they're not the strongest team in this division on the back end in goal, but he's trying to just score more than the other team.
They've done that a lot.
When you've got only one other team in the league who has scored more goals than you, that it's not a bad idea necessarily to just say, hey, we can outscore our problems. And I think for me, someone who's pretty familiar with the Wizards and pretty familiar with that division as a whole, this is not your father's Wizards. This is not your grandfather's Wizards. I mean,
not Freddie Myers Wizards.
This is a new type of Wizards team. They play fast. There's a sense of creativity there. I've gotten to call a few of their showcase games. And mind you, George Kolovos has missed 11 games this year. I think he's only played in about 8 or 9 of the 20 they've had. And they've won 14 out of 20 games. And so you think they haven't even added back their 20-goal, 50-point guy from a season ago, and yet Will Rice leading the way. You mentioned some of those guys they've picked up, Neil, too. I was doing my pregame preparations yesterday, and Aiden O'Connell has picked up 11 points in 5 games since coming over from the Junior Bruins. Like, they're just finding guys. Even some of their returners, too, Aaron O'Connor, Joe Fontaine, guys that, chipped in last year, had a few points, played their first season of junior hockey. Now, all of a sudden, you're seeing them just completely surpass last year's offensive numbers, and we still have about 6 odd games to go for them. So going to be curious to see if the Wizards can keep this offensive surge going, because as you mentioned too, Neil, if there is one concern that I have with them, and it's something I think is going to come and bite them in the rear end, and that's in goal. I just don't think they're necessarily strong enough on the back end, not just in net too, but their blue line as a whole. They've lost some veteran guys, Rocco Siri from last year, et cetera. But if they can keep on scoring and winning games 4-3, 6-5. They had a 9-6 win over the Chiefs at the regional showcase.
Oh, that one, bud. That was fun.
Not pretty, but 2 points are 2 points.
Yeah. Since this is your first time on the podcast this year, Tyler, you haven't heard the Aiden O'Connell joke yet. You said that he came over from the Junior Bruins. I thought it was the Las Vegas Raiders. That's just me personally. But
close enough.
Same name as
right now.
Same name as the quarterback there. I guess we'll have to get Jake to have a joke interview with him and be like, "Hey, how are you playing EHL games during the week but playing quarterback on the weekend?" It's the same name for those that aren't following what I'm saying.
I was saying, people are like, "Wait, what? What's he talking about?" Yeah, look it up. Use Google.
But Jeff, everyone knows how much these picks kill you at this time of year because they're so early and you don't want to hurt people's feelings. But you just go chalk and you pick the Rangers? Come on.
Dude, we talked about it quickly in our pregame. They're just too damn good. They're just too damn good. They have 5 guys over 20 points. This team reminds me a lot of the team in 2020. That our last our last hurrah together in the booth before it became me and Tyler, with our masks on and everything. Me doing start lineups down below and then running to you and sweating. But all jokes aside, that Rangers team, we've talked about it. Andy Moore, who I see on a nightly basis at Matthews Arena now, playing for the Northeastern Huskies. You had guys like Johnny Malandrucolo, Nathan Young, Connor Bazal. And now this year's version of that, you got Tate Mellis, Brett Beal, Caleb Miller. We talked about last week. The kid scored 3 goals last year. He's got 16 goals this year. You get guys taking massive jumps, like Tyler was just talking about with the Wizards, with guys like Will Rice and the O'Connells, the O'Connors, all the Irish boys over there, Raffoni, Kolovos. I mean, the Rangers have just as much, and they have that missing puzzle piece that the Wizards don't with Charles Watson. Stop me if you've heard the Rangers have another really good damn goaltender. Okay. So you put his name up in the rafters with Billy Gerard and Nolan Egbert, Nathan Miller, and David Felak, and here comes Charles Watson. So yeah, I think the Rangers, and I want to look at the Express too, because I think they have a really good shot. I think if you take the Wizards, Express, and Rangers and throw them in a hat, again, sorry, Terriers and Seahawks and Bandits, but you throw those 3 teams in a hat, put your arm in, and just pick, you literally could just pick 3 different teams, and it could be any one of them. I just think the Rangers are just way too strong, way too deep in all areas, and I think they're gonna end up winning the East.
Yeah, and you mentioned Watson. I wouldn't even sleep on Aiden Pierce, right? He's got 4 starts so far since joining the Rangers, 3-1 record with a .75 goals against and a .972 save percentage. So when they've had to jump
men's
to
league numbers,
Sounds like men's league. Your men's league numbers at the Fox Sports
maybe deflate the save percentage and inflate the goals against a little bit
Just
more.
make sure Anthony Apollo doesn't walk through that door, Tyler.
Oh, man.
Keep Anthony far away from me when I'm on the ice. Holy good Lord.
But for those that don't know, also Tyler calls all the games for the Express. Tyler, in your conversations with Nick Coda throughout the season, was there any thought process? Has it come up, the fact that they've played just 17 games and like the way that he laid this schedule out?
I know there's definitely deliberation in how the schedule was structured from the first half compared to the second half. I think the philosophy boils down to trying to gradually ease things in, and then once you're eased in, you ramp things up. I think they only played like 2 or 3 games out of the gate in September, but then October they had 6 on the road. November they played, I think, another 6 or 7. So they picked things up as the fall rolled along, and I think that as they did, their schedule also got harder too. I think it's safe to say that they started the year off playing against a fairly weak slate. Their Worcester Showcase run wasn't necessarily that big of a challenge, but then they started going up against the likes of the Wolves and the Railers. Hit a little bit of adversity too in that stretch. They had a streak of dropping 3 out of 4, but I think they've recovered. They won a few games prior to the break, and they came back out of the break with ugly but satisfying 7-4 win over the Seahawks yesterday. But this is a team that I feel like they're scoring way more. They have this offensive swagger to them and confidence that just was completely absent from last year's team. still able to keep an emphasis on the defensive structure. I mentioned it on the broadcast yesterday. They're one of the best defensive teams in the league again, one of the fewest goals allowed. Josh Girard's done a really nice job stepping in. They've gotten some good goaltending from Alex Koenig and Phil DeChamplain. So I think for me in the Express, the curious thing for this second half and for the postseason is who is going to be their goalie, who's going to be the guy they lean on, because after what Jack Boschert did the last 2 years in the postseason, I have a feeling if the Express want to get anywhere, it's probably going to come down to another heroic goaltending run. But this team might be able to outscore their problems too.
Right, that's the crazy thing, Ty. That's why I kind of wanted to pick the Expresses. That was their missing keyword of this podcast. Maybe it's called puzzle piece. Name the title. Got your episode title there, Neil. They couldn't score enough last year, right? But now you got guys. Simopoulos is taking a huge jump. Perry, they have all sorts of guys that can put pucks in the back of the net. So Nick Coda found the solution there, and hopefully that can help them. Like you said, now it's the flip flop. Now you lost Boschert. Now it's who wants the net. So yeah, that's going to be interesting.
I may call the podcast way too early, Jeff, but we'll save that name for future.
Way too early. Puzzle piece. Puzzle pieces crumbling everywhere.
But speaking of, I guess you can call it smaller, fewer game count. The team with the fewest number of games played so far is the Valley Junior Warriors at 15, which shifts us up to the North Division. I'm still, you know what, Jeff, up until the buzzer, I'm still hemming and hawing here about my pick for the North, right? So we mentioned Anthony earlier with the Wolves. Justin also.
Chris Sorrell just texted you.
Justin also riding with the Wolves. Jake picking the Lumberjacks. We'll come back to that. Trevor and Mike picking the Avalanche and Haley picking the Spartans. We're all over the map here. I do know one of Jake's favorite players is Trent King, so maybe that's the basis behind that pick. Both of you are picking the Avalanche, and like, I'm so stuck here, guys. Like, I when you compare, right, Jeff, you compare the Rangers team to their championship team 2 years ago, and you think that there's a lot of comparables there. When I compare this Avalanche team to previous teams, I haven't seen it.
You can't, Neil.
I haven't yet either. It's very different.
So when I mentioned how earlier talking about the East Division, how I had never seen a Wizards team like I've seen this year. This is my third year in the EHL, so granted, not as long as you guys, but for me, I have not. This is a different looking Avalanche team. I've always been so used to this Avalanche team, frankly, being an Avalanche and just rolling over their opponents 7, 8, 9 goals a game, giving up very little on the other end. Or even if they do have a game where they give up 3 or 4, they can score 6, 7, 8. It's been a lot different this year. I think that Coach Sorrella's had a lot of different faces on both sides of the puck that he's had to incorporate in. And I think that they don't have that necessary killer at forward as they've had in the past few years where, there's that Daniel McKiernan or the Michael Tersoni, that 25, 30, maybe even 40 goal guy that can just go out there and change a game.
Hotchkiss.
Aiden Hotchkiss with his playmaking. I mean, they have good forwards, and they're a very good, well-rounded team from the back end out with Sam Bowes and Antoine Robidoux, but they don't have that big line, it feels like. They don't have that juggernaut line like they've had in the last few years. And maybe that ends up working out for them, because if they spread things out and share the wealth a little bit more, could actually make them a more difficult team to defend in the long run. But we'll see.
And you're
sexy was a term we used many episodes ago, right, Neil?
Yes.
I think that was actually describing Trent King.
I think it probably was. We should really we should be calling Jake in for this right now. But despite all that, you both are still picking the Avalanche, and the saying is you can't have the Frozen Finals without the Avalanche, because it's been 6 for 6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with Seacoast right this year. I
wanted to go Seacoast
before we got on the air. I wanted to plug Warriors because I think the Warriors do, for some reason, get up for big games.
You think they're gonna have a huge second half? What do they have? 31 games left,
and they have 30. They have 31 games left, right? And I think that it wouldn't surprise me. I guess we'll say that, right?
They made a run.
Yes, if they made a run. But right now, I'm going to go with Seacoast as a kind of revenge pick for last year, because I'm sure, I can still picture Carson Whitman going down on a breakaway in overtime and thinking, like that's what makes hockey so unique, right? Like, You're literally that close.
I was say, what do you like about Seacoast, Neil?
I just think it's a pure revenge thing, and I think ultimately, I think when it's Skelton's net officially, and they've kind of rotated guys through to keep him fresh.
Yeah.
I think it's one of some team that makes it to Providence is going to have a goalie carry them there.
You think he can do it?
And I think it would be him right now.
Okay.
When I look at everyone in the league, I think there's a lot of goalies that will help lead their team there. Carson Fry may help lead his team there, but I think put the team on his back and carry them there. He had 60 saves against the Avs in the game earlier this season, right?
Yeah.
He could
his goals against is
there.
pushing around 3. I mean, Spartans can score. It's just a matter of he's got to get those numbers down. He's one of 5 different goalies that Trider has trotted out there.
I mean, maybe he's trying to pace the team. I don't know. Everyone has a different mindset and strategy, right?
Yeah.
Every one of these coaches is one of those big whiteboards in their office, and
none
of them look the same.
There's a lot of names written on those whiteboards. I can say that much.
Exactly.
I'm just gonna chuckle at a Sean Walsh for Terry Watzel. Massive whiteboard he brought.
So we wrap up the EHL with the South Division, and.
You ready for Anthony's pick? Did you say it yet?
I already did. Right? He picked the Bears along with 6 other Bears picks. Both of you picked the Bears, and Trevor, Mike, and Haley all did. Justin and Jake both went Little Flyers, purely because I think of just how that team always gets stronger as the year goes on.
They're filthy in the second half. Easily probably the second best or the best second half team in like EHL history, Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the coaching, right? Gatron getting that team into a spot where he wants to be when the playoffs come around. But as is the case for me every fall, I just roll with Maryland. That's where I'm at. I don't know what it is, but I just like this team. Maybe it's just their look. I love their look every year. The black jerseys are the best jerseys ever in the history of our league. Like, period, end of story. But I do think they're playing a lot better as of late. And maybe a guy like Eric Perochin doesn't win Coach of the Year this year just because there's so many guys that have done a great job this season, whether it's Lenny Caglione or Jason Kilcoyne, guys just in his division. But for a coach to come in on such short notice at the start of the season, because the coach that was there, Josh Fusco, took a job in Division 2 with Franklin Pierce, and then for him to get this team to where it's at right now. And they just brought in Jake Hugeson to try and shore up a few things in goal. They're playing they had a much better mid-October to where we're at in November than they had in September. And I think, honestly, when it comes to the South, if any team in the playoffs last year proved that anything could happen, it was Team Maryland, who was in the play-in game and then did knock off the number 1 seed in their division. Mm-hmm. So maybe this was the year they kick the door down and get to the Frozen Finals. So maybe my pick changes when we get to March, but I'm going to at least stay consistent annually.
Right. These are the way too early, so you get another chance. We have another stab at this, folks.
I could totally see out of all the divisions, I could actually see the South being the one that sees the most change because the Bears have raced out to such a great start, but when is that going to start to taper off? Because eventually those games just add up. And I mean, you've won 19 of your first 22 this year, and you've built yourself a 12-point cushion. That's a pretty sizable cushion in late November, but sometimes the grip can loosen and things start to slip. And I mean, we always know how competitive that division is. Everyone's always gunning for that top seed. I remember my first year in the league, my first full year when the 87s wound up winning it all. I remember the roller coaster of a year they went on. They had that massive losing streak in the first half, looked completely dead in the water, made some changes, came back second half of the year and just went on a run, burned the whole trail and won the whole thing. So I also want to say, because I feel like I get this reputation of jinxing the Little Flyers. So Alo is listening to this. I thought about it really quick last night. Maybe I should pencil in Philadelphia just because they always seem to have that in them, they're finding a way no matter what. And I think they're a team that a lot of people can underestimate. So that also makes them a tantalizing pick. But I think I opted not to pick them because evidently I'm bad luck for the Philadelphia Little Flyers, according to Alo. So I took the safe pick. I went with the Bears. We'll see if they can continue to build off of the strong start they've got. But the 87s, Huntsman, Team Maryland. I mean, really all those South Division teams, they're a lot closer than I feel like the standings might project.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, real quick, Ty, to go off your point, before we got to move on, but to go off your point with the Bears, sorry, Big C, gonna mention this, right? Last year's Avalanche team was very similar to this Bears team, right? Where they just won, they blew doors and they won almost like every single game all the way to the end of the regular season. And then we saw come postseason time, oh, you know what? Family show, we won't say it. We are playing some like tight hockey games. When you go a whole 46 game season, you just kind of go through and just kind of blow people out, and you don't have that. You haven't played one of those games that really your team's like, ooh, like we're on the line, our backs are up. That can kind of creep up into your play come playoff time. So
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting point by you, Tyler, about the Bears, that as good as they are, they gotta maybe they might want to go through a losing streak in the second half to kind of settle down.
I know another Bear-based team that won a lot of games a season
God.
ago and didn't have things pan their way come postseason time when it really matters. So, the regular season is important. These wins and points are important. And I mean, hell, I'd be celebrating winning 19 of my first 22 games too. But we got a long ways to go. And I feel like that's something I always find myself telling the Express guys too, is it's just like, hey, we got 46 of these things. So even if one doesn't go your way, like you can't really sit and get mad, or if one goes really great, you can't hang your hat on that. You just got to keep moving on. So we'll see how things go, but the Bears have certainly set themselves up good.
And remember, in the EHL, the regular season champion has never won the playoff championship. Mental note for that, reminder of that. But we'll go to the EHLP now. Anthony did not give reasoning behind his picks in the P. He just gave his picks.
Anthony doesn't care about the P. Just kidding.
I mean, he does call the P finals, which is interesting, right? But remember, in the EHLP, we're only going to have 3 division champions, and then technically we'll have 3 division finals losers. Whoever has the best record of those division finals losers will get the at-large bid. So we'll start with the New England division, and we have 5 people picking the Thunder. Myself, Jeff, Anthony, Justin, and Trevor are all rolling with the Thunder. Tyler, Jake, and Mike all have I have Mike in here twice. Haley.
We love you that much, Mikey Basile.
Yeah, no. Tyler, Jake, and Haley are all rolling with the Wolves. Mike has the Avalanche. And I think we've talked about this in the podcast, throughout with this division. It has been those 3 teams kind of clustered at the top. Mm-hmm. The reason for my pick, guys, like if it's a revenge thing for the Spartans, and it's for revenge thing for Adirondack. I mean, they were an absolute wagon last year and got knocked off in 2 games. And maybe they're not quite, I don't know, if you put last year's team versus this year's team, last year's team may win, but this year's team continues to just kind of score at will. And whether it's Cole Davidson or Jordan Dickinson, maybe they kind of have a Wizards look to them, where they may not be as strong as some teams on the back end, but they're going to outscore you the whole way. And I think the experience of going through their first EHLP postseason will be in the back of their minds as this year's team gets to the playoffs. And my way too early pick is the Thunder.
Well, I had those 2 games the weekend prior to Thanksgiving up in Hooksett between the Avs and the Thunder, and they split that series. And I'll tell you, for a regular season series in late November, right before the break too, it felt like a playoff atmosphere, both games. I mean, not just even from an on the ice standpoint either. I mean, I never really seen the ice den that full of people for an EHLP game, no less, not even an EHL game or anything like that. There were a lot of people there. These are 2 teams that don't like each other. They have made that very clear. And it honestly borderlines like it's personal. And I think that it makes the matchups on the ice even all the more entertaining. I mean, the first game on Saturday was a 7-5 win for the Thunder, game in which they almost gave it away. They blew a pretty big lead and then came back. And then the Avalanche winning in overtime on Sunday, courtesy of Hunter Atkinson. So it could very well come down to those two teams again. But I just have a feeling like the Wolves are that team in the corner, that team that's just lurking. They're a team that knows how to score. The question with the Wolves will be, can they keep the puck out of their net? Because their team save percentage dips well below 900. So that's not winning goaltending by any means.
Not what you're going to get come playoff time. You can't have that. And I think Coach Murkowski's veteran. We've talked about him ad nauseum on this podcast before about a guy that's been in the show, right? He's been everywhere, and I think he's another ingredient with the Adirondack Junior Thunder that kind of like with the Avalanche and the EHL. Even though that's a different looking EHL team, you got to believe in the big fella Chris Sorella and Mario Martiniello and what they do. And I think with the Thunder EHL Premier, you got to kind of think the same thing, is that Jack Murkowski knows how to build a team. He knows how to win, and they got that nice balance. You got, like you said, Neil, you got Davidson, you got Aerobus, Bader. They have all sorts of guys that are putting pucks in the net. And Busser, I think the goaltender, his numbers have to get better, but it's only the first half of the season. So this is the time when teams do kind of settle in and start to see themselves really take off. So maybe that'll be the case for the Thunder goaltending, and then they can get even stronger. Scary, but yeah, they can get better.
So ready for the Boston division picks?
Oh, this one was friggin' stupid. Absolutely stupid.
Railers, Express, Railers. Who picked
the Rangers?
Nope. Who picked the Express, guys?
Uh-oh.
Anthony picked the Express. So Anthony's still going off the Piazza postseason run of last year, I think, right? But again, this year's Express team has proven that this is probably one of their best in EHLP history, right? And it's funny, everyone's picking the Railers just to win the division outright. Remember, last year they were the at-large. Year before, they were the division champs. Year before that, they were the out. It's them and the Rangers have just alternated this the last few years. So
big dogs.
But at 18-2, I see why a lot of guys picked them. But I'm going to come back to an interesting point about the Railers in a second, because
good or bad?
It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to surprise some people here. But we look at the Mid-Atlantic Division. 5 of us picked the Huntsman. Myself, Jeff, Tyler, Anthony, and
love you, Zach Overholzer,
and Haley, Justin, Jake, and Trevor picked the 87s, and then Mikey rolling with the Renegades. He wanted to be different, and listen, they've been right there towards the top.
Cliff loves you.
Most of the year, and right there with them too, the Little Flyers, right? So this
division is going to be sending him a Renegade swag bag.
He deserves it then. But this division's been kind of tight there towards the top all season long. For me, the Huntsmen have been such a great new franchise in our league. It feels like they deserve a ticket to Providence, one of their teams, right? We know what the 87s have done when they've gone to the Frozen Finals. Actually, what's funny is you go back to that one you mentioned earlier, Jeff, in Philly, when the Rangers won, the P87s won that year, right?
Right.
The next year, the EHL 87s won.
Yep.
Last year, the P87s won. So the pattern would be the EHL 87s win, but none of us picked them to go. So we'll just write that off right now, I guess, right?
And here comes the text
from
Adam Hooley.
Attack on the bulletin board in Hooley's coaching office right
exactly.
now.
That's why I hate this, because then we all show up in Newington and you get those coaches that like look at you like, hey, how's things going, Jeff? Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
Neil.
You don't think
you're
we're going to be there in March. Well,
like, you know what? I think I'm going to skip lunch. I think I'll come back later, and you can just, or then it's the opposite.
Proven wrong. I'll say that right now. I'm always welcome.
Yeah.
I'll stand on anything I say, and I would love it nothing more than to have a team just throw it right back in all of our faces. So that's an open message. That is an open message.
Yeah.
Every year we say this disclaimer. We do this because we care, but we also all do our homework. We all do our research to make these picks. So, we love you all, myself included, because that's who I am. And yes, I lose hours of sleep every year trying to make these picks, but we're also journalists. We have to create content. We're all journalists here. So, so we're just doing what we can.
Well, and here's where it gets interesting, right? Because remember, the at-large, you have to be in the division finals to get the at-large, right?
I
So
wish we still on at large at the EHL level. We'll bring that up the next owners meeting. But...
no, thank you. Anyways, Jeff.
The more teams, the merrier. Neil.
Yes,
Come on.
Jeff, Tyler,
No thanks.
Justin, and Haley all have the Express as the at-large, which means most likely
Revenge.
they're winning a 2-3 series against the Rangers to then face the Railers. All right, everyone got that at home, and then the Railers knocked them off, but they both still go. Right? Anthony has the Railers as the at-large, which means the Express get through the Rangers most likely, then beat the Railers, and then the Railers obviously still have the best record, so they still go.
Wait, Anthony picked the Express to win the division?
Win the division, Railers get the at-large. And then the last one, Mike, has the Thunder as the at-large. So just keep this in mind, Mike. I didn't want to go down a rabbit hole with the group text last night, but that means the Thunder right now, who have the 4th best record in the league, are going to probably go on a run here in the second half to get to either the second or third best record in the league. Because you have to remember, if they have the Rangers, Railers, and Express all in front of them, they would either need to have some chaos in the Boston division in order to get that at large, or they go on a run themselves. So for me, I'm the one contrarian here. I'm going Warriors with the at large because to that point, it feels like this thing is trending towards we're going to have 2 Boston division teams, because right now, if the Express were in any other division, they'd be in first place, right? And the Warriors are only 4 points behind them. So I have a feeling that the Warriors are going to pull an upset in the playoffs in order to get to the Boston Division Finals. And then when we get there at that point, they're going to be above everybody else, and they're going to go. For the first time in Warriors history, either team makes it to the finals. So that recaps all the picks. And the point that I kind of teased a second ago is we touched on this earlier. The Railers crew that we have, Jake, Trevor, and Mike Haley, wasted no time. EHL, all Railers in the Central Division. EHLP, all Railers in the Boston Division. So they couldn't help themselves but pick the Railers in both divisions, right?
Yeah.
Let me just read off Anthony's picks again for everyone. Wolves, Rangers, Applecore, Bears. Thunder, Express, Huntsman, Railers. Now, he could be pulling a Justin and doing the reverse psychology. If I don't pick the 87s, both 87s make it. But just pointing out what's in front of me, he didn't pick the 87s in either division. Just making that statement. Now, he's not here to defend himself or tell me that, yes, he is trying to do the reverse psychology thing. But
also, do you have last year's picks from him? That would be hard to dig up.
I don't. That
would be a lot of emails to dig through. But
listen, don't get me wrong. I used to call games in the league. When you do get the chance to call games or spend more time around a certain particular program, it's hard to shake affection towards that program. Like 100%. you get to know players. Like literally. Jeff, you said this before we hit record. I have Andrew Harley's jersey in my basement. Like,
was he, baby?
like, I really probably shouldn't have that, but he was like, "Hey, it has a hole in it. Take this." It's like, okay.
I wear the badge with honor. You called the first 4 years of their games, and then I've stepped in. Literally, I remember to fill in for you one day. It was like, this is the first time in 68 home games for the Wizards that Neil Rabbit is not on the call.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, listen, don't get me wrong, it's hard to shake that, right?
It is.
I can't say
we can
that
all admit that.
I can't say that, deny that for a second, right? And it's all hindsight for me because I really don't call games anymore, right? But
and they're all believable picks too, right, Neil and Tyler? It's not like anyone's picking.
The thing. Yeah.
Right? It's not like someone's picking a 1 in 22 team, the Golden Bears to win it
I think if Anthony really wanted to, he could have very well picked the 87s. He could have picked the 87s in both. Yeah. In both leagues, and it would have made sense. It would have been reasonable, and obviously, you have you have your ties with them, but it's like they're having good seasons too. And I mean, I kind of thought about the same thing with picking the Express, but I was like, at the end of the day, they're the team that I work for the most, and I do the most for, and I have over the last few years, and I totally agree, Neil. You do form these attachments and relationships, but I'll go back to last year. losing a triple OT heartbreaker on home ice to have your season end.
Yeah.
And then a couple days later, I'm in Providence with all of you, having a great time. But then, that realization sits in of, oh, wait, they didn't make it this year. We have 4 teams that, and they're not one of them. But you have that switch in your head where you flip it on, where it's like, okay, well, they didn't make it this year. 4 teams did. Let's go call a great Frozen Final.
Yeah. And it's, listen, we're doing this in November.
Me, it doesn't change who's in and who's out.
No.
I'm always going to bring my best.
Yeah.
But you always root for your guys, low key.
No,
There's
of
nothing wrong
course.
with that.
Of course. Listen, no one in this league is on Jack Edwards level yet, right? So it's all good.
Wait, which level of Jack are we talking about? Love you, Jack, but thanks for doing our fantasy draft.
Oh, wait, Neil, I have one more.
Low Jack or old Jack?
I would just like to say really quickly, 2023-24 EHL Broadcaster of the Year, early pick selection, Jim McCabe, Seahawks hockey.
Listen, when he there was a late game scuffle between the Seahawks and the Lumberjacks recently, and he started talking about aliens or something, and I'm like, where are we going right now, Jim? Where are we going? Like,
that sounds like the JMC I know.
Oh man,
he'll put you in tears. He will put you into tears.
I'm like looking at the what's going on the ice, and then it's like, oh, and the aliens have landed on the moon, and I'm like, what, Jim? What? So, it was good.
This the EHL? What is this? Is this Hollywood? Where are we?
It's an entertainment business, boys. That's what it is.
Hey, it is.
Jim stands for.
That is something we all know going to college for all this is as a broadcaster, you must inform, but you must entertain. And damn, does Jim McCabe entertain the living you know what out of you?
You know what? I'll be honest. If he replaced Jack Edwards eventually, I wouldn't be upset about it. Like, I think it could actually be entertaining, right? I think half of Bruins Nation probably would get frustrated. Because he may miss a goal at one point, but the movie lines would get New England really on the map, I guess you could say, right?
You use a little Randy Moeller in the Bruins booth.
You pick up on your movie reference library would expand tremendously.
Yes.
Jim McCabe is on regional airwaves.
I mean, I think Felger and Maz their heads would probably explode trying to keep up with it, right?
But 4 hours a day, they'd be like, "What was this? What is he talking about, Mike?"
I mean, he's not far off though. I mean, when the Bruins just beat the Panthers, Jack yelled, "Throw the cat off the cliff." So we're kind of on the same path.
We're getting there.
We're really on the same path. Anyways, that does it for our way too early finals picks. We obviously did this week because in between Thanksgiving last week and today, we had 5 games. So we're not going to recap 5 games because we're just not going to do that. We're going to do our way too early finals picks, and we'll reset these, halfway through the season during the holiday break and after the showcase in Philly in March. And
great, can't wait.
We'll see ultimately who changes. We'll see if I roll with Team Maryland. But we are recording this on November 30th, which makes it the final day of the month of November for the E-Show Fantasy Challenge. So let's jump to the Fantasy Challenge now.
Now it's time for the E-Show Fantasy Challenge. Follow along on the EHL app. Available now for free on both Apple iOS and Android.
As we start off every Fantasy Challenge, Jeff, I'm sorry I knocked you off in our Yahoo Fantasy last week. We were tied for the first day. But it's only because finally my number 1 pick, McDavid, started being friggin' McDavid, right? He's got 12 points in the last 3 games. Speaking of
the goal we had against Edmonton, against Vegas, their last game. I was watching that on ESPN Plus, and if I'm a goalie, I might just start getting out of the net now. Just let him have it. Just let him take it.
You are a goalie, Tyler.
Yes.
Logan Thompson. Oh, if I was an NHL goalie, I'd probably get out of the net at that point. Logan Thompson, I was watching that. The guy did everything right on the breakaway. Played a breakaway about as perfect as you could. Still get.
I was trying. I literally was showing that clip to Vicky the other night too, Tyler. And she's like, "What? It's a breakaway goal." I go, "But you just look at how fast he's getting to the spot.
So that it just looks like it's routine, and it's like, no, man, this guy is this guy's anything but."
Actually, Tyler, it's funny you mentioned fantasy. Or what did Vicky say?
No, she was just like I don't get why it's that cool. I go, you just don't understand. Like McDavid he's moving that quickly. Like the goalie was there. Like
the hands, the mind, everything operates at a speed I could not comprehend. That guy.
Tyler, it's funny you mentioned goalies though, because I just traded for Justin Squitieri's very own Andrei Vasilevsky in our Yahoo league.
Yes.
So I have Jake Ottinger, who's been great. Gustafson's been absolute
really
garbage.
Low this year. He's really low on his Lightning this year, and I don't know if it's his reverse psychology tactic or what, but they're going to be fine. They're going to make
Can Philip Gustafson please wake up? If he listens to the E Show podcast, I got you in both leagues, dude. You're absolute
I had
garbage.
Marc-Andre Fleury at the beginning of the year, Jeff.
Well,
I just had to trade Jack Eichel because I needed friggin' Vasilevsky, and now I'm pissed. And I lost to Neil 141.60 to 120.90. My team's in a rut. I'm 2-5. I'm in 9th place. We love Jim McCabe. He's in last place. Sorry, Jim. SOS to you. Neil's in 4th. Justin keeps changing his team name. He is now the Leon King.
Yes,
the Leon King for Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah,
he's 4-3. Where's Jamie? I think we can't say Jamie's name on the air. That one's
no, we cannot say that one
not for air. He's 4-3. Philip Parker's in our league. Which one's Philip? Awesome Powers.
Health bombs. Yes,
okay.
I will say I did. For those that don't know, I obviously am a Bruins fan because I grew up here, but I also grew up a Red Wings fan. My dad's from Michigan. They were in different conferences too, like for a long time, so it didn't matter. I had Kane on my bench for the longest time.
You did.
And and
Kane Primo.
Yes. Well, Primo's going nowhere. He's going nowhere. He's standing right there.
I had Devin Levi on my bench the other day, and then he got sent to the EHL. And
I texted Justin when the Red Wings got Kane. I was like, "Can I get Kane back?" He's like, "Yeah, McDavid straight up." And that's not happening. Like, so
that.
Anyways, but that's our Yahoo Fantasy recap for those that care or don't care, right?
Everyone's like, what are we doing here?
Went on a little bit of a tangent real quick.
But Jeff, if
your
Yahoo continues to be in the 2 and 5 range, you had some success with the sportsbook on Thanksgiving, and they have a great offer for new customers, right?
I did. I won $110 on Thanksgiving thanks to some cool parlays. It was my first time. I dipped my toes. I've been scared to do it because I'm a massive sports junkie and I don't want to slip down. But I did some quick little small $5 parlay bets. And
that's all you got to do, Jeff. $10.
You just can't do it in Rhode Island yet, which is really upsetting. My beautiful home state, you can only do the Rhode Island Sportsbook. We're not going to plug them because they're not a sponsor. But DraftKings FanDuel not allowed yet. Hopefully that's going to change soon. So you just got to go across the border into Mass, New Hampshire, wherever you so choose to make those bets on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Because like Neil said, you can download that app now and you can use the code THPN because new customers can get $150 instantly in bonus bets. I haven't even done this yet for betting just $5 on hockey. I did place a bet on the Bruins and they cost me against the Red Wings. Thank you, Neil. Appreciate that. That's code THPN only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The crown is yours. Bonus bets do expire 168 hours after issuance. And if you have a gambling problem, you can call 1-800-GAMBLER. You can visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, you can call 877-8-HOPENY, or you can text HOPENY, and that is 467-369. If you're in Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777, or you can visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. You can void this in Ontario. Bonus bets do expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2023. All rights are reserved.
So to our fantasy challenge now here in the EHL. Let me pull up our standings. We are down to the last day, right? As you see on our fantasy challenge page. Remember, you can find it through the app under the media section. Find the one that's titled Fantasy Challenge. You see where everyone's ranking in the standings on the last day. Remember, if you win your month, you advance to the round of champions. We'll have 5 people total face off in the month of March for the EHL and EHLP playoffs. So I was fortunate enough to win in October. It looks like Marc-Andre Dumont is going to win in the month of November. And John Koshiel has to be frustrated because the Wolves and Little Flyers, see, they both have AJ Lacus and they both have Jack Costabile, right? So Wolves didn't play yesterday or today, and obviously Little Flyers play, but it would have been a wash anyways. They have the same picks. But if you look at their goalies, Reardon and Fry, right? Look who played yesterday for the Bears. I'm looking at this. I'm like, oh, a 2-0 shutout for the Bears. If that's Fry, Koshiel is going to jump him. But he didn't play Fry yesterday.
Oh, Briley.
Briley he's been tremendous.
Thomas McLaren light. That's
modern day Thomas McLaren, Jeff. You love that, right? So it looks like Mr. Dumont's going to finish in first, right? Because Jen Jaslow right behind them. She's got 3 junior terriers. They don't play today. I guess you could say Joe LaChase. Joe LaChase could make a jump. He would need a Jack Weinman 7-point
He would need
effort.
Weinman to kill his old apple core.
Yeah. So today, that's today, right? So,
that's today. That's right.
So Joe LaChase could. This is all Wolves here, Rangers. Trevor could, if Corbin Mealy pops off today with 10 points. And Wyman only gets 5 or so. Trevor still has a shot here.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So it's still
Chris Russo,
open.
Nope, he's done.
But it makes
Casey.
This is what makes the picks so unique, right? Anthony had a great month, but Drew Cody let him down a little bit with just the 7 points right there, right? I mean, this is Jacob Jaslow's father.
He didn't even pick a D.
He forgot to pick a D.
Oh.
That could have been huge. Wow.
He's still 15th. He's still better than me.
Yeah. So, listen.
Okay, Jeff, you're doing better than I am.
Jeff, I don't mean to be totally.
You're already in the finals.
I already got my ticket. So, but here's the thing, though. I could actually, if I win another month, we'll just go to second place. Nah, I still want to set the bar. I'm not pleased with myself, right? But we already
37th place.
We still have over 24 hours to submit your picks for December, and we're already past halfway what we had in November, right? So be sure to definitely get your picks in. One thing that you can do for fans that are really trying to do your research at home, if you go to Game Center, I would do this on a desktop most likely, and you click schedule, it defaults to show you all the teams, right? Click Rangers, click December, click submit, you know they have 6 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is too much research for some people, but if you work your way down,
maybe it's not enough.
You can find Valley, right? 9
Loaded
games.
Schedule.
Seacoast, 9 games, right?
Let's go, David Basin.
Who was I laughing about the other day on here that had a kind of funny? Was it them? No, there was somebody on here that
they play like twice.
No, every game is a road game.
Oh,
I'm gonna find it here in a second. I was literally doing this the other day. You guys can see my screen right now. I literally was just checking.
Oh, actually, Wizards looked like all road.
I know they're
They got a couple.
Okay, all right. Wow, we are speeding through 87s. Nope, Bears. No.
I'm killing myself. I literally saw this the other day.
Valley?
Boom. Look at this.
Philly
Hockey Club is the road team for every game in the month of December.
See you in January.
Now, remember, 3 of these are showcase. 3 of these are showcase games, right?
So, they'll technically be the home team, but
yes. So, but to kind of touch on some players some more, in terms of who's really been spectacular. We mentioned the Fry Reardon thing with Mr. Dumont and Mr. Koshiel. So Cam Reardon in October was part of the team that I had that won, right? He had 3 wins, 17 goals against, 201 saves, a shutout, 37.2 fantasy points. It really wasn't much different in November. No shutout, 3 more wins, over 200 saves again for 37.6. Carson Fry, 36.6 in November. He had 19.2 in October. In terms of skaters this past month, we've touched on AJ Lacus all season long, right? 38 points.
Pound it. AJ Lacus.
Matthias Johansson, 36. Phil Feinberg, remember he came in late to join the Boston Junior Terriers. He's been a huge piece for them. Will Rice, recently committed to Bowdoin College. He had 28 points. We didn't really have any defensemen. I guess you could kind of say Hudak here for the Chiefs. He had 9 assists in November for 21 points. We didn't have any Jack Costabile, 7 goals, 7 assists, two hat tricks. I mean, let me find this for October.
He's still scoring. Yeah, I think he's still Philly's leading scorer too, if I'm not mistaken.
He is. So I mean, we didn't have a 48-point fantasy month like we did. Like that's truly what stands out from that first month.
That is torrid right there.
9 power play points.
For a defenseman too. That is impressive.
We had a lot of like consistent guys in the 20s or teens, right? Tay Mellis, Alex
Jimmy
Erling.
Fitzgerald, Andrew Van Antwerp.
Yeah. Charlie DiMartino.
Oh, you're on forwards now.
Well, yeah, I'm just going down the list. Charlie DiMartino's been great for the EHLP Express all year.
Cody Walker.
Davidson, McAleer, 8 assists himself. Look at this stretch right here. All guys that have points in the teens for fantasy.
Yep. Cooper Smith, Harrison Kramer, Jack Kovacs, just naming those guys. Take your notes, people. Take your notes.
And remember, like, you don't need wins in goal, right?
Saves are the big
saves are huge. Ryan Croshaw didn't have a win in November, but his save total got 30.8 points. Right? Jordan Dumont's save total got 38.8 points. So it's I don't know. I don't know if there's a clear blueprint on how to win.
I feel like you have to do your homework, but at the same time, it also just kind of comes down to just the vibes, you know? Like it's just who you feeling. It's kind of like when you're making a parlay up, honestly. You just have to go with the first thing that comes in your head. Oh, this guy's going to score a touchdown. Boom. Oh, this guy's going to hit 4 3-pointers. All right. When you start like thinking too much about it or like looking too much into like the games and the numbers and the stat, I feel like that's kind of when you might trip over yourself. So I don't know. Sometimes I just try and say like, oh, this guy's having a good month, I feel like, or oh, this guy might be due for a big month or for a big stretch. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's like a 50-50 thing. You do your research, but at the end of the day, you just got to pull the trigger on what your gut is going with.
Yeah. So we'll recap our picks. Myself, Tyler, Anthony when he's back, Jeff. Now on next week's podcast, because I'm
gonna start doing something.
I don't want anyone to steal picks. If you really want to steal my picks, just go look at my Twitter.
I gotta cook mine up still. So,
but that does it for fantasy. So we'll jump to what to watch for now.
And now here's what to watch for in the EHL and the EHLP.
What to watch for is presented by Flow Hockey, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action throughout the 2023-2024 season.
We're just gonna pick one game per piece here, guys. So I think I know where Tyler is probably gonna go, but
I think you do too, Neil.
Yeah, a game that you're probably gonna be calling. I'll start off. I'm watching up for this Railers Apple Core series. I think it's a great way to come back from the break. And two teams that have been 1-2 in the Central Division all season long. So sorry if I stole the one from you, Jeff.
God damn it. No, it's okay. No, I'm gonna go Wizards Rangers. They've only played once so far this year. They're playing on Tuesday, December the 5th.
Yep.
And that is at the Edge Sports Center, your old home there, Neil.
Hogwarts.
So two teams battling it out in the East Division. In first and second place. Like you said, Rangers won 4-2 back on November the 3rd. So about a month between matchups. Rangers are still pretty much the same. Like you said, Wizards have started to filter some guys in. Kolovos is back. I forget if Kolovos was out for that first game or not. But watch out for Wizards Rangers.
I am also going to stick with the East. It is a game that I'm calling, Neil, tomorrow at noon. It's the second meeting of the season between the Express and the Wizards. The first meeting was a real tight playoff-like game, 1-0 final at the Edge Sports Center. Josh Girard picked up the shutout, expecting to see him again tomorrow in goal, but never know with Coach Coda. On the P side, I won't be able to call it because I'm actually going to be up at Dartmouth College. But on Saturday, the Railers and the Express meet up at Rodman. That should be really exciting. They played a barn burner last time out at Worcester, 7-6 in overtime. The Railers pulled it out. And then last one, a bonus one, since we do have the showcase on the horizon. I was fortunate to snag the Rangers Avalanche matchup, which is always one I feel like, even in the regular season, that
Get your
I personally
ready.
look forward to. And I know that Coach DiCaprio and Coach Sorella always look forward and relish that matchup. So excited to have it.
For sure.
There'll be no instant replay available for that game.
Okay.
No instant replay, please, for the love of God.
Hey.
We're playing it.
We kind of rushed through what to watch for this week, but there was plenty to get to with our way too early finals picks and the fantasy month of November coming to an end. Make sure to get your December picks in before 11 a.m. tomorrow, but that's the first puck drop in the month of December. So after that, the system literally closes and you can't do it. So get the picks in today. Showcase is right around the corner, guys. Can't wait for that. So if you, as I say every week, if you can't make it out to see any of the games in person, you can watch them always live on Flow Hockey. Tyler, thanks for jumping on. We'll talk to you guys.
Have you, boys.
Talk to you guys soon.
See you, Ty. See you.
Thanks for listening to The E Show, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Learn more about us at easternhockeyleague.org. And follow us on all of your favorite social media platforms. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when our next podcast episode is released.